Hello, everybody. Let me welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today we have an awesome guest who is the leader in sports technology and innovation. Todd. Todd is the Chief Executive Officer at QwikCut. With over a decade of experience, Todd has been at the forefront of changing how sports teams analyze and utilize game footage. Todd, welcome to the show. I'm thrilled that you could be with us today. Can you tell us a little bit more about QwikCut and the exciting work that you're doing?
QwikCut is a sports and analytic software. It's in the cloud. We cater to schools, high schools especially, middle schools, and then club teams. So they videotape their event, upload it to our platform, and they can share it with other teams, with their own team. We've got a recruiting element, and there's a race for AI. And so we're using AI analytics to determine the stats of games. And that's what's kind of on the forefront of what we are doing currently and trying to stay ahead of our competition.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what do you believe is some of the most critical elements for these teams in thinking about success when they're trying to optimize game analysis and thinking about today?
Yeah, so I think in the past, like when I played and for probably the last 25 years, a lot of kids, athletes watch film for entertainment purposes. And they didn't know how to watch film, especially football, so that they could get better. They wouldn't look at their competition. They wouldn't analyze themselves or their team play. And when you have AI analytics, it breaks down what you could do and what you didn't do and what you could have done, and helps with that decision process in the game so that you can see and recognize certain situations that you wouldn't have been able to had you not watched game film. And so teaching and training an athlete how to watch game film is the first thing, and then using that AI analytics to help them improve their game.
So what was super interesting. So I used to play sports back in the day. I played basketball and I don't think I want to see any video of that time, but 'cause I'm pretty sure it all looks so much better in my head. But I like the idea of being able to support people's individual improvement by what's going on the screen. It just really shows how much better we're getting. Can you tell me a little bit more about the difference between analysis in the land of AI versus for you doing the work versus in the land of non-AI? Like, are there big technical differences or is it just a speed difference for you?
Computer vision is what is used to get the AI analytics, and you can get the speed of an athlete, the height on a jump, the burst of quickness for a steal, and then for like football, you can get speed as you're moving towards a tackle or a block, or breakaway speed for a receiver, or so there's a lot of things that can be tracked with AI that can't be tracked with the human eye.
Yeah.
And then it does it a lot faster too with computer vision. You can do an entire high school football game in about 15 minutes with AI, and it takes you 2 hours, possibly 4 hours if you're doing complex analytics for football.
If you're thinking about a normal business, so for our listeners, if you're thinking about the context of this in a normal business, what we just heard is AI is really helping with core metrics, but it's helping with metrics that are where you can go deeper and deeper inside of metrics. So you think about height, weight, the speed of a jump. What's the velocity of, opportunities in your business? Like these are all things that we can use artificial intelligence to help us to pinpoint in ways that in the past we couldn't. Let's switch a little bit and talk specifically about decision making. So I'd love to understand if you have any frameworks for making high stakes decisions when you don't have all the information. And you can use examples like this is what we do when we're enhancing our features, or this is what we do when we're thinking about how to better service the customer. So I'd love to know from you what you think.
I would say probably the hardest decision to make is hiring people. And
Mm-hmm.
you do that interview and people tell you what you want to hear. You get references. They only give you good references. And so you've got to kind of put a little faith and trust in what they're saying that it's going to come to fruition. But there's been many a times where I heard what I wanted to hear and we hired the person and it was evident right away that they weren't going to fit in. And then you got to go through the whole process again. And so finding the secret sauce to hiring the right people is to me a major decision. I remember I think Bill Belichick had said that he wanted to surround himself with good people, fun
Mhm.
that he wanted to hang out with. And I've kind of used that when we've gone through our hiring process in some areas that, I want to make sure that they fit in with the rest of the group.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about values based hiring. So that fun kind of made me think about that. So fun being a value. In that case, if I use the values that we have in hiring, it might kind of help me to narrow down the things that maybe you can't find if you're not thinking about the values. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way. We hire people all over the United States, so I can't even get eyeball to eyeball with a lot of these people. And so it's important that when we do a Zoom meeting like this or an online meeting, that you look at all the details of how they're dressed and how they carry themselves in that interview. So it'd be great if we could go mini golfing or go to a baseball game on an interview.
It would be. Is there any reason why you can't go golfing on an interview? Did someone put that in a book and say we can't do that?
Well, for me to fly over California on the other side
Got it.
of the country would be difficult for a golf outing and an interview.
So totally understand. Let's keep going. So the hiring decision was a really good one, but I really would love to know about when it comes to tracking outcomes of major decisions that you've already made. Let's use product development as an example. What are some of the metrics that you find the most telling that indicate success?
Well, I'm spoiled. I have a very good development team. It's made up of one person, and
Okay.
so
It's good.
I got him right out of college. He happened to be my son's roommate in college, and he's fast and he's really good at what he does. And so he's built our entire platform and our mobile apps. Product development may not be a good one for me to measure decision making. When it comes to coaching,
Yeah.
we wanted to give coaches tools to make decisions about their athletes and about their assistant coaches.
Oh
So
yeah. Say more.
one of the things that we did in our platform for football was we track every clip that a kid looks at. So I can tell if a kid's actually looking at game film. I can tell if my
Mhm.
coach is looking at game film because it'll tell me, are they watching game film? How many clips did they look at? How much time did they spend on each clip? And then I can see if they're looking at practice film and how much time they spent on each clip. So football gets uploaded different than any other sport because you upload clip by clip or play by play, whereas
Mm.
basketball is just one big clip.
Mhm.
And so in the past, athletes could log in, go play video games for an hour, come back and log out, and the coach wouldn't know if they've looked at game film or not. So we keep track of how much time and what clips they look at, and then we rank it so that the coach can look over the last 7 days, over the last 14 days, and over the season who's actually watching game film and what they're actually looking at, including the playbook. And so a kid can't say he looked at the playbook and because coach can go and look and say, no, you didn't. I can tell you didn't.
So what does the coach actually like do with that information? So now I know that a kid watched. So I guess they'd be able to correlate that to their performance too, right?
Right,
Oh,
yeah,
so you weren't able to execute a play. So then if you were thinking positively, you could probably also correlate that to training. What do we need to sort of focus and work on?
right.
Yeah.
If
Are there
someone
any other whys in there? Like, did you ever ask any questions about why?
why
Why a kid didn't?
oh, okay. Well, just about every kid has a phone and ours
Mm,
has a mobile app. So if they're telling us that they don't have a computer at home, well, you've got a phone.
mhm.
Just about every kid has a phone. And so the excuses, we've minimized the excuses for looking at game film. And it comes down to dedication. If you're a team player and you want to help your team, there's certain things that you're going to do outside of practice, whether it's eating right, whether it's exercising out of season and working out. Uh, you have to be dedicated to that sport. And we hold the athlete's feet to the fire to make sure that they're doing that because we all have this little thing called laziness from time.
Yes, we do.
And so we try to, hold the kids accountable as well, because that those things correlate to life, you
They
know?
sure do. I was just gonna say, like, for our audience, dedication and accountability are important in any circumstance, right? So as a business owner, you have to be dedicated. And of course there's going to be accountability. Your company will live or not live. So it's super important that you train up, that you pay attention. So there's actually a few ways to make good use of the information that you're sharing right now.
Mhm.
So watching game film is no different than like reading books as a founder of a company, right? You
Right,
you you got to read the books or understand what you're doing. Going back, reviewing your decisions, right? I decided to do 20 things. What happened when I did those 20 things? How did that work out for me? So I see a lot of good sort of why retrospective review is going to be important. Can we talk a little bit about your leadership? I would love to know more about how you actually foster innovation and continuous improvement in your organization.
I think it's important to lead by example. Nobody's gonna outwork me or put in more hours
Come
in the
on.
day, and so they see that, and they all pick up on that. I don't need to hear them. I don't need to remind them of how many hours I'm working, but when you lead by example, you don't need to say those things. Our support team, we've got a little bit of competition. We wanna be the best, and customer support, we get accolades all the time about our support. We had a call Easter Sunday morning, the phone was picked up, and I just happened to be in the car at the time, and it rang on my cell phone. So, we pick up the phone when people call. Our competitor doesn't, because they're financially focused, and and so we want our customers to have that experience. Like, man, they took care of me right away. I can't get this if I go elsewhere.
You know what's amazing about this? So lead by example. No one will outwork me. We want to be the best and we focus on the customer. Company that's looking for success needs to understand that those are key attributes. Those are key things. Like you cannot be successful if you don't do that. If you look at some of the most successful companies in the world, you're going to find that the leaders have said things like that. Then you said another thing. You said focus. You expressly talked about focus, which I think is often something that especially earlier stage companies don't often think about how important it is to narrow your focus. So that's good stuff. Hey, I want to ask you a question. So I read the Harvard Business Review all the time, and I read these ideas and briefs. And so there's one that it lays out a challenge, and then it lays out a dilemma, and then it lays out a solution. So I just kind of want to get your thoughts on this just to jump out. So it lays the challenge out. It says employees of all types are burned out and desperately need empathy from their managers. But empathetic leadership can be so emotionally draining that it feels unsustainable. It claims the dilemma to be many managers believe they have to make a choice, be empathetic or sacrifice their well being for the good of others, or back away to preserve their own emotional health. It says the solution is the dilemma is less real than it seems. Three strategies discussed in detail here can lead managers to lead empathetically over the long term without burning out. So it then goes through and talks about these strategies. I want to really ask you more about, do you believe that this is a real dilemma, or do you have frameworks in your decision making that help to balance this out with your team? Because it sounds like you have really good rapport with a really great team.
I would say that our team is extremely hardworking, and they just grind, and nobody complains, to me anyways. And so our sales reps know that working hard is gonna pay off, and you don't have hours, you don't punch in at 8 and you're done at 4. Our support team knows that we don't have hours, and it's just been a blessing to work with such great people, and I tell them that, I remind them that, "I'm fortunate to have you," and we do annual reviews, and raises come along with that, and I let them know how much I appreciate them, and that's, I think, goes a long ways as well.
What's hard about your collaborative process? Like, what's difficult in your decision making, trying to maintain high levels of collaboration with your team?
Well, we've just always met once a week online. We're spread out all over the United States, and so it's good in fact in the fact that you don't have the office drama.
No one likes office drama.
Yeah, and so when we get together, it's just business, and there's always a lighter side at the beginning of the meeting as we talk about the weekend or somebody's event. Our developer just got married a couple weeks ago, and so he had to share pictures of his honeymoon to make sure he actually went to where he said he was going. So it's just I like to keep a lighter atmosphere at the beginning of our meetings, but then we get down to business and the numbers don't lie.
Come
So
on.
if we're slacking in a certain area, it'll show up. And so as long as we continue to see growth and we're having fun doing it, that's always makes for a positive meeting.
I think one of the things that I'm picking up from you that I actually think is really cool. I'd love to see what happens in future organizations. So what can people learn from this? This idea that people come to work and you get to work. So much of, workplace stuff these days has all the feelings and feely stuff in it, right? And I'm hearing from you something a little different. So I'm admiring that you can maintain that sense of like we're at work, we're gonna work. And so that being the focus, I'm wondering if there's anything that you're doing that at the start, is there anything you're laying out that makes that super clear to your team so that as people come into your organization, they understand that that's the culture here, right? We come here to work and that's what we do. Are there any elements that you believe are like contributing to that culture?
Well, I would say that not everybody can work at home. And every one of our employees works at home. And there's some people that just need that supervision. They need that camaraderie of going into an office. And so if you can discipline yourself and are good at what you do, you're going to fit in just fine here.
That's good. That's real good. So, hey, people, again, values and really ensuring fit on employees. That's really one of my key takeaways here is how good someone fits into the culture of your organization is going to depend, it's going to be a leading indicator of their success within your organization. Okay. So let's go to one of my favorite things, which is we're going to kind of assess your decision making persona. I want to ask you 4 questions,
Okay.
and for each one of the questions, you're not actually answering the question. You're going to say on a scale of 0 to 100% how much you identify with how this question is asked. Okay.
Okay.
And then you only get 100%. So you got to keep keep in mind that you only for all 4 questions you only get 100%. And so this is really all about decision making and your style. So I'll tell you what the persona is after you give me your percentage after I ask the question. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. Here's your first question. We're considering a new feature for QuickCut. How are we going to ensure that it aligns with our company's mission and enhances the user experience?
25.
25%. All right. That is called a feeler. That's the feeler. It's a lot of gut instinct is in there. A lot of I care about you is in there. That's all good stuff. But just,
Mhm.
just saying. Okay, here's your next one. So we're reflecting on last year's product initiatives. What specific trends or insights have we uncovered that could significantly influence our next strategy?
Probably 40.
40%. That's called a planner. That's the planner persona. Let's keep it moving. We're evaluating previous product changes. What lessons did we learn that have fundamentally changed our decision making process?
I'm going to go 10.
10%. That's called a counter. Just counting it up. All right. And here's our last one. Now that we're formulating these new strategies, which specific data points are we going to rely on to validate our data?
25.
25. All right. So is that our whole thing? That's our whole thing.
That's our whole thing.
That's our whole thing. That's called the data driver. So the idea is building a balanced decision, which you're doing pretty good. You're heavy counter. So you are 25% feeler, 40% planner, 10% counter, 25% data driver. Take that to your team and say, next time you have an idea, bring it to me in this format.
Mm.
That's the idea. So the thing is, a lot of people don't understand the idea of having super balanced decision making. There's a time and a place for data, there's a time and a place for your gut instincts. Those things shouldn't be wiped out. And there's a time and a place for planning and counting. And so there's no right or wrong answer. It's just sort of a little fun exercise to identify, what's your gig. Okay, as we wrap up this conversation, I have one more question. If you could offer a piece of advice to an aspiring leader in the sports technology area, what would it be?
Make sure you're filled with passion, and no matter what people tell, go after it. I was mocked about being a competitor of the big elephant in the room. Our competitor has about 95% of the market.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
When 7 years ago, when I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about going up against them," got kind of mocked, laughed at. What would you're not going to succeed. And just filled with passion and the right people being put around and blessed by God. So
Come on. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your transparency. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Todd. Your expertise is really inspiring. I'm wondering, can you share with our listeners where they can learn more about you, more about QuickCut?
QwikCut.com.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Dynamic Decisions Podcast. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.